Democrats won big last Tuesday night, most notably in Virginia and New Jersey. They won the governorships. But down-ballot races may end up being the ones that really make the most change to individual citizens. Alex Miller joins us now. Started to hear some of the underdog winners that night. A few names popped out, but it was larger than that. And sometimes these small races have big effects.
Yeah, especially when you get a bunch of them at one time, like in the Virginia legislature. They were really concerned that they were going to lose a supermajority, meaning that Republicans were going to have so many Republicans in the state legislature that they were going to be able to pass anything without any Democratic votes. Now, it's not even close to the case. They've got 49 out of 100 seats, and those down-ballot wins are the ones that are going to shape Virginians' future in the years to come.
The candidates who make the biggest headlines might not be the ones who make the biggest difference in your day-to-day life.
Transportation, local access to health care, making sure kids have strong public schools. Local issues are the ones that often drive people to the polls.
But typically, issues don't translate to turnout. Fair Vote says 60% of eligible people vote during presidential election years, 40% vote during midterms, and turnout is much lower for odd-year primary or local elections. Emily Kane served in Maine's state legislature for 10 years and now works as the executive director of Emily's List. She says despite the lack of party backing, it's often community officials who carry the biggest burden with voters.
They have to look at them face to face when they go to the grocery store, they go to the bank, they go to the post office, or walk down the street.
And in the spirit of community, many of these down-ballot candidates don't have a D or an R next to their name. But because their position isn't specifically partisan, people don't realize exactly how important these officials are to the communities they serve. The school board members, mayors, and city council members could be responsible for everything from school quality to rent costs to your recycling options. These are the things you'll notice if the quality declines.
What's on the so-called downside of the ballot is really what's most important to people.
And some of the most prominent national issues once started at the local level.
In some cases, the states are where we started with some of the best, most transformative ideas, whether that's things like marriage equality or looking at issues around climate change and where states took some of the earliest action.
Kane, who works to recruit Democratic women to run for office, says the states can also be a check for the federal government.
These state and local level offices are where we can draw the line and say no.
Bottom line, those names at the bottom of your ballot matter a lot more than you might be paying attention to. So you should not only vote for president, you should vote for city council members too. And next time you're about to head to the polls, give your local candidates a quick Google search. They may be the ones to make sure your recycling gets picked up.
Yeah, good point. And also, judges, many times, those are the ones you're going to be standing in front of. But you think of these state legislature districts, many times they are small, depending on how divvied up it is. And then you have city council. Just a few people can decide something that impacts your life quite a bit.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of these times in these off-year elections, you've got these down-ballot races that already have these tiny little districts, and you've got low voter turnout. So kind of the two compounded together makes for a pretty big problem. I was doing some research for the story, and I found that in 2014 in Ohio, there were 7 decisions on a ballot that were decided by one vote. So we're not talking these big, statewide decisions necessarily, but they're local issues. This one specifically was about a pizza shop and whether they could serve wine and liquor. So you see the vast difference in the issues that could be on these ballots. But the reality is if you want to make a difference and see quick change, the best way to see it is in these local down-ballot races.
Well, you were talking about Virginia, in Richmond in the state legislature, 49 out of 100. If 2 votes would have gone the other way, will they then get to elect the House Speaker and get to be in charge of legislation and setting the agenda? So these are important.
Well, they really are, especially because the Virginia legislature had so many Republicans in it in the last 4 years, and they sent so many bills. I think it was like 120 to Terry McAuliffe's desk, and he vetoed them, but they didn't have a veto-proof majority, which is what they thought they were going to get. They didn't get it, so it makes a big difference.
Alex, thank you. Taking a look now at some other stories.